1985. You know, a year of shoulder pads, questionable hairstyles, and honestly, probably the beginning of the end for truly interesting cars. Or was it? Because while some of us were busy trying to solve the Rubik's Cube without throwing it across the room, something pretty special was bubbling up on the world's automotive stage. Look, some things just get better with age. Like a decent whiskey, or maybe a really, really good 80s haircut. But for cars, that 40-year mark isn't some midlife crisis. Oh no. For some, it's just the start of a glorious second act. And today we're diving deep into the class of 85. 40 years on, and some of these machines, still kicking, still surprising, and in a few cases, still utterly baffling. But we're not just doing the obvious heroes here. Nah, we're digging in. So strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a wild one. Right, let's kick things off with something that, frankly, just leaves you scratching your head. The Honda Accord Aerodeck. Now, back in '85, if you walked into a Honda dealer, you had choices. The sensible saloon, the practical hatchback, or the bonkers Civic CRX. And then there was this. It's a shooting brake! Sort of. It's got this massive tailgate that opens halfway onto the roof, which I guess is just perfect for, oh, I don't know, transporting a giraffe with a slightly wonky neck? It seated 4, had decent cargo space, but let's be real, it wasn't exactly setting anyone's pulse racing. It was basically Honda going, all right, we've got the sensible stuff, we've got the sporty stuff, now how about the confused stuff? It was the automotive equivalent of wearing a beige cardigan to a rave. Surprisingly practical, sure, but utterly devoid of any actual passion.
Speaking of practical, and just as devoid of passion, we've got the Fiat Croma. This was Fiat's big swing to compete with the heavy hitters of the day, the Ford Granada, the Renault 25. And get this, it was based on a shared platform with Alfa Romeo, Lancia, and even Saab. Which, let's be honest, sounds like the setup for a truly awkward family dinner, doesn't it? Yeah, 5-door hatchback, not a saloon, even though it totally looks like one. Super practical, apparently. It even had a 153 horsepower turbo version, which on paper should have been a laugh. But from what they say, the torque delivery was so agricultural, it made driving it a complete chore. The sensible shoe of the executive car world. And Fiat kept churning them out for 11 years. Over 438,000 of them. That's a lot of sensible shoes, right? Now from the downright dull and practical, to the utterly, gloriously unhinged. Behold the Citroën Visa GTi. Now this car started life as a Visa, which is French for Visa, and also, frankly, a bit forgettable. But then Citroën clearly had a moment of pure genius. They just waltzed over to their mates at Peugeot and went, hey, can we borrow your 205 GTi engine? And so the 103 horsepower 1.6-liter engine from the mighty 205 GTi found its way into this absolute featherweight, 890-kilo packet of Gallic fury. It did 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 9.1 seconds. Doesn't sound fast, does it? But it was so light, you could just fling it into corners without even thinking about the brakes. Honestly, it was like driving a very angry, very agile shopping trolley. Utterly bonkers, utterly brilliant, and completely overshadowed by its Peugeot cousin. A true underdog hero, that one. And while we're talking about quirky brilliance, we absolutely have to mention the Lancia Y10, or as it was known in some markets, the Autobianchi. This was Lancia's shot at taking on the Fiesta, the Renault 5, the Polo, and just look at it. That sharp cut-off rear end, the steeply raked bonnet, the bonded windscreen, it honestly looks like a tiny aerodynamic sculpture, doesn't it? It even had an 84 horsepower turbo version, though, let's be honest, it wasn't exactly threatening the dominance of the Golf GTi. But for pure style, for doing things differently, the Y10 was just fantastic. It even came in an all-wheel drive version using the Fiat Panda 4x4 drivetrain. Because, you know, why not, Lancia? Constantly proving that being eccentric can sometimes be far more charming than being perfect. Right, enough of the quirky stuff, let's talk serious business. In 1985, a full year before BMW unleashed the M3, Mercedes-Benz decided they wanted a proper slice of that sporting saloon pie, and what they gave us was this, the 190E 2.316.
Cosworth. Say no more. A 16-valve four-cylinder engine churning out a very respectable 182 horsepower. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.3 seconds, top speed of 232 kilometers per hour. This wasn't just a fast saloon. This was a genuine homologation special, built to go racing. It was refined, it was poised, it was everything you'd expect from Mercedes, but with a serious dose of aggression. And fun fact, it quietly sold more than its eventual BMW rival. So take that, M3. But speaking of the M3's slightly older, perhaps more sensible, but equally potent big brother, the E28 BMW M5. Launched in late 84, but with sales really kicking off in 85, so yeah, we're counting it. And what a car. This wasn't just a Fast 5 series, oh no. This was the first proper M5, meticulously crafted by BMW's own motorsport division. And what did they cram under the bonnet?
The 282 horsepower 3.5-liter straight six from the legendary M1 supercar, all packed into a practical four-door, five-seat saloon. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 6.5 seconds, top speed of 251 kilometers per hour. It was the ultimate sleeper. You could genuinely drop the kids off at school, then turn around and utterly embarrass a sports car on the Autobahn. Only 2,145 were ever sold, making it rarer than a polite politician, honestly. Truly a masterpiece of understated aggression. And now for something completely different. If you were a high-ranking Soviet official in the mid-80s, your chariot of choice was almost certainly this. The ZIL 4147. 5.75 meters long is standard, but they could stretch it to a mind-boggling 6.3 meters for extra legroom, or maybe just to fit a small ballroom in the back. Powered by a colossal 7.7-liter V8 churning out a very comrade-like 315 horsepower. It could even hit 190 kilometers per hour, which, let's be honest, is probably faster than most Soviet roads could actually handle. And it weighed 3 metric tons. You weren't driving this, you were basically steering a small apartment building. And of course, they made armored versions. Because, you know, being a high-ranking Soviet official was apparently quite the dangerous occupation. Only 234 were built between 1985 and 2010. Which, given the client base, makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
From Soviet luxury to pure, unadulterated British retro weirdness.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Naylor TF 1700. Now, the Naylor brothers were absolutely brilliant MG restorers, and they actually got official permission from Austin Rover to build a replica of the classic MG TF. On the outside, it looked exactly like the original, spot on, but underneath, yeah, it had a 76 horsepower engine from a Morris Ital, a car so dull it honestly made watching paint dry seem like a thrill. And here's the kicker. It cost more than a brand new Toyota MR2. Predictably, only about 100 brave souls actually bought into this idea before the company went bust. Proof, perhaps, that sometimes the past really should just stay in the past, especially when it involves a Morris Ital engine.
All right, enough of the quirky stuff. Let's get absolutely serious about speed. 1985 was a massive year for Porsche. They launched the 924S, which was fine, but then they unleashed this. The 944 Turbo. They took the 944's 2.5-liter four-cylinder and simply strapped a massive KKK turbocharger right onto it. The result? 217 horsepower. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.6 seconds, and a top speed of 253 kilometers per hour, which crucially was faster than a standard 911 of the time. Just wrap your head around that for a second. The transaxle, front-engine Porsche actually out-dragging the sacred 911. Blasphemy, but glorious, glorious blasphemy. It even gave the 944 its signature facelift that the rest of the range copied. The 944 Turbo, a genuine giant killer, no question. But if you wanted pure, unadulterated, Group B insanity, there was really only one choice. Or perhaps one late choice, the Ford RS200. Ford arrived a little late to the Group B rally party, clinging on to their rear-wheel drive dreams for just a bit too long. But when they finally launched this in 1985, oh my word. This was a bespoke machine, purpose-built, mid-mounted 1.8-liter Cosworth engine, nearly 250 horsepower in road trim, and the rally versions, we're talking up to 450 horsepower. Rallycross versions, how about 650 horsepower? It was built for one purpose and one purpose only,
to absolutely dominate Group B. Sadly, Group B was banned in 1986, so its career was tragically short-lived. But it was fast, it was capable, and it was utterly, savagely brutal. The RS200 is a monument to pure, unadulterated, slightly insane motorsport engineering. A true rally legend, cut short far too soon.
Finally, we arrive at the enduring icons. Those cars that, even after 40 years, still make you go, ooh, that's just nice. Like the Alfa Romeo 75, named cleverly to celebrate Alfa's 75th anniversary. A properly designed saloon for proper drivers, this one. 50-50 weight distribution, rear-wheel drive. Yeah, it handled like an absolute dream. It even had a new 2.0-liter twin-spark engine. But the ones you really wanted? Those glorious V6s. A 2.5 V6 with 154 horsepower, or even better, the 3.0-liter V6 with 185 horsepower, turning it into a proper, snarling sports saloon. The interior was, well, it was an Alfa. Electric window switches on the roof, a U-shaped handbrake, gloriously Italian, gloriously confusing. But loyal buyers? They simply didn't care. Over 375,257 of them rolled off the line. And its platform even went on to underpin the utterly bonkers SZ Coupe, the Alfa 75, beautiful, flawed, and utterly captivating, just like a true Alfa should be. And how could we possibly finish without a Ferrari? The 308 was getting on a bit, but Ferrari, being Ferrari, knew better than to mess too much with a good thing. So in 1985, they blessed us with the 328, GTB, and GTS. Subtle exterior tweaks, a new lower bumper for better aerodynamics. But the truly big news was right there, under the hood. The V8 grew to 3.2 liters, giving it its new name. Power climbed to 267 horsepower, finally letting Ferrari boast that even their entry-level model could top 250 kilometers per hour. And 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in a crisp 6 seconds. It was gorgeous, it was fast, and it was unequivocally a Ferrari. The GTS, the open-top version, actually sold 4 times as many as the fixed-roof GTB. Because, let's be honest, if you're dropping that kind of cash on a Ferrari, you absolutely want the wind in your hair, don't you? The 328, a timeless classic and a beautiful reminder that 1985 wasn't all bad. In fact, it was rather good.
So there you have it, the class of '85. From the bewilderingly practical to the utterly insane. From the forgotten gems to the enduring icons. 40 years on, and these cars still have incredible stories to tell. They prove that while tastes may change and technology may advance, the sheer, unadulterated joy of the automobile remains absolutely timeless. If you enjoyed this ride through automotive history, please give this video a like and tell us your absolute favorite '85 car in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful world of cars. Catch you next time.